All right, so if you're just joining us, thank you again for taking some time today. We look forward to speaking with you. My name is Christina Epifano. I'm the sales consultant for medical markets here at NeuroTracker. These have been some very challenging times for everyone, and we're all experiencing some level of isolation and anxiety in this new norm, which we hope is short-lived. During this webinar, we'd like to offer you all some suggestions on how we can work with you to face this challenge using telehealth, some virtual consultations, and NeuroTracker to continue to engage with your clients, your athletes, your patients remotely. We'll share some best practices to help you implement virtual at-home training for your clients and the communities you're serving. I would first like to introduce Francis McInnes, who is our scientific lead here at NeuroTracker. Francis is going to provide you some tips on telehealth and an overview of implementing NeuroTracker remotely in your practice. Hi, Francis, and welcome.
Thanks, Christina, and hello, everyone. To begin, I'd just like to start by discussing some tips for getting started with telehealth, as it can always be a little bit intimidating if you haven't integrated it just yet into your practice. Now, when you're choosing a platform to conduct your virtual appointments, it is important to note that there are a wide variety of them available to you. Some of them are platforms that are specific to telemedicine practices, but there are great options that are also free, and you might have some of them on your device already. For example, I know some clinicians are utilizing Skype and WhatsApp. It's of course recommended that you check whether the platform is HIPAA, PIPEDA, or GDPR compliant, depending on where you are located. And I'd also recommend that when you're choosing a platform to really think about what features will be important to you, such as screen sharing, for example. Telehealth is a solution that many healthcare providers are utilizing. So there's definitely been a huge surge in helpful articles and resources being posted online that I find are really helpful to help clients understand how to get going, depending, of course, on the needs of the practices that you're serving. I'd also suggest monitoring the updates that seem to be evolving almost daily on new billing codes and client reimbursement for virtual appointments. The Canadian Physiotherapy Association announced just a couple of days ago that Sun Life Canada is now reimbursing telerehab consultations and virtual visits. And I've also been seeing and reading a lot of similar updates, not just in Canada, but in the United States as well, where the professional associations for many healthcare practitioners and providers are communicating regularly with third-party payers to find solutions to help clinicians get through this outbreak. So keep up to date daily because, like I said, this is constantly changing and evolving. And lastly, if you're interested in setting up virtual appointments, do consider what the client will need to be successful with their home program in the home environment. This is not just for NeuroTracker, but for other exercises as well. For NeuroTracker, this does include reviewing some of our documentation that provides guidelines on things like the devices, internet connection, getting set up, and the proper viewing distance. Okay, so some of you may already be familiar with the options that we have for providing at-home NeuroTracker training, but I just wanted to quickly review those with you as well. The first here on the left is the older version of the NeuroTracker software, which included a cloud-based option that can be accessed on the web. This is the version that does not integrate with the on-site data, but it is still, of course, functional. The second is the newer version that we will be placing more of our focus on today, which is the updated version of the software called NeuroTracker X. It has been designed to have the accessibility of the cloud platform, but to also be integrated and have the features of the on-site system, including integrated data and training platform. Now, specific to virtual appointments, there are some key features that make this training platform well suited to the home environment, and you will see them a little bit better when we go through the demo here shortly. The first is that there is improved accessibility of the new software for both Windows and most Mac users. It's a single downloadable application, and it's no longer limited to a specific device, such as the laptop you might be currently using on site. It only requires a single login, which is what allows you and your clients to have easier access to training, as well as on an unlimited number of devices. The second is that there are guided programs available for you to assign to your users that we've developed here at NeuroTracker based on our research protocols. So for example, we have loaded some pre-built protocols into the system that are for low functioning populations, active aging, children, athletic performance, as well as just general wellness. And so they all begin with a baseline assessment, work through the consolidation phase, elevate a baseline, and then in some cases, dual task training. With the new system, we wanted to be able to provide a more structured approach based on what we've seen to be successful in the research, while of course continuing to allow our clients to customize the protocols based on client needs. We've also added new features like a larger data set to use as a reference to track performance and compare data across a training program, both at the organizational level and with normative data. And lastly, we have improved the user and administrator dashboards to be more interactive and simplified, providing users with a clear picture of their progress across the duration of their program. Okay, so now, when you're thinking about getting started, I would just like to review a few things to consider when you're planning to set up virtual appointments. First and foremost, education on NeuroTracker and why you're applying it to their home program will be really important. This is especially because you won't be seeing them directly on site, so the time you take to educate and provide a demo gives them that opportunity to ask questions and gain a deeper level of understanding prior to beginning their training program. This is something that you can do over a screen share, or you can be present on a video chat while they try out a few trials and ask some questions. Once you start a session, the NeuroTracker data only saves if you complete all 20 trials. So this is a great way to do a remote demo with clients so that you can introduce them to the training before they sit down and complete a more structured assessment. If they are already using NeuroTracker, this will of course be a little bit easier and they can continue training per usual. But if they are new, this is also where you can talk about completing an assessment to get that baseline of where they are starting. And you can also discuss the other exercises or strategies that you might be implementing into their home program. For example, vestibular or ocular exercises, balance exercises, strength and conditioning training, pre-post questionnaires. You can kind of set up an assessment appointment before they get started on this full program. If there are a variety of exercises you are assigning with the NeuroTracker and their home program, you will want to encourage them to maintain a similar structure to what they would be doing on their on-site visits. And this is especially important because one, we know that NeuroTracker is very sensitive to the effects of fatigue, stress, and activity. So we do want to be consistent in the training. And then also, they're in a new environment where they might have the distractions of, say, having kids at home, work demands, just other life distractions that they might not be experiencing in the clinic. So to be consistent, perhaps consider coaching them on a plan of how and when to complete their training. And next, I would say, really don't underestimate the value of feedback when it comes to their training program. Again, as they won't have that face-to-face time with you on site, they may benefit from having some coaching and continued education to manage their expectations for their performance on the system, especially if they are new to the technology. For example, sometimes clients can get caught up on the number of failed trials without understanding that the system is designed to have them fail about 50% of the time during a session. They might also get discouraged if they see their scores, see that their scores take a hit on certain days, not realizing that this is expected in the progression, and we're focusing more on the long-term improvement rather than a single session result. At the end of each session, there is a place for the user to write some notes about their performance or how they were feeling that day. And this is a really great way for you to keep track as well of some subjective data that can help guide you when you're providing them some feedback. And lastly, as with any home program, you'll just want to reevaluate and continue modifying the complexity as they continue to work through their training program. And if you need any help with that, you can of course let us know as well, and we can coach you a little bit on training and protocols.
Thank you so much, Frances. And I'd just like to let everybody know that you can put your questions in the Q&A section at Zoom, and we will go through those at the end of the call. Also, just to let you all know, this will be recorded, so if anybody would like a copy of the slides and the information, we'd be happy to share that at the end. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Mark Donahue, who's our Director of Operations, who will walk you through a short demo of NeuroTracker X to highlight the key features of the platform that make it easy to set up and implement virtual training. Hi, Mark.
Hi, and thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. What we have in front of us is the new NeuroTracker X training platform. It's the most recent iteration of the NeuroTracker software, and it allows for coaches and clinicians to monitor their organization and administer remote training so that users can complete the cognitive training even in the comfort of their own homes. Now, what we see here is the trainer dashboard. When a trainer were to sign in, they would see not only some high-level information about their organization and some statistics, but then along with that, they would see some information as to what's new with NeuroTracker, including some recent publications and some how-to videos. But if they wanted to go in and manage their organization, you'd be able to navigate to the organization tab here and build up their user base. So if an individual wanted to invite or actually manually create the users, they would be able to go ahead and do so. The invitation would send an email to the user's email, and it allowed them to sign up independently. should you want to create and assign an email and a password, or username and a password, I should say, you would be able to do that, all while also selecting what type of program would be most applicable to that user, something that I will get into in just a few moments. Now, along with that, you're able to manage those users, to assign them to different groups, assign different trainers, and selecting those programs, as well as exporting the data so that you can build a good insight as to how the user is progressing. Now, in addition to that export training function, you also have a stats dashboard, which we see here. Now, this dashboard provides a macro level insight as to how the users within your organization are performing. The first graph is a progression curve that aggregates the progression curves of your respective users. And you can go in and highlight individual users and, in fact, see their performance on a session-by-session basis. If you find this too busy, what you're able to do is hide individual progression curves, and in fact even compare it to normative data or organization level data. More specifically, in fact, what you can see is you can specify what type of normative data you would like. In that instance, we had females between the age of 19 to 21, but you're able to compare it to performance as a whole. Along with that, you're able to compare user baselines, both comparing their initial baseline to the current baseline. Now, as per our research, this is an indication of high performers, those individuals who start off at a high level and also progress and learn at a fast rate. And so you're able to pinpoint who falls between the upper right quadrant and identify those top performers. And once again, you're able to go through and select the users that you want to populate, or you can go ahead and aggregate them, sort them however you'd like, as well as hide individuals who you don't want to see. And lastly, you have the capability of viewing their performance and improvements over time by, once again, comparing the current and initial baselines and highlighting the individuals who you want to gain deeper insights on. Now, this provides a high-level overview. One thing I will get into in just a moment is looking on an individual basis and getting into the user dashboards. But before I do that, I just wanted to highlight the program aspect. This is something that's new with NeuroTracker X, and it's the ability to assign the programs and allowing your users to progress along a pre-designated path depending on their profile, whether they be part of a general population, a low-functioning group, for athletic performance, and so forth. Now, under the base model of this platform, anyone is able to use these pre-created programs. But on the advanced version, what you have the ability to do is create your own custom-built and generated programs. So let's say, for instance, you have specific ideas of how you want your users to progress, whether it be on a session mode by modifying the parameters, or by dictating the dual tasks as the user progresses. You have the capacity to do that in this program. But in order to do that, you need to have access to that capability on the advanced version of the software. And you also have to have the training certification because we want to ensure that you have the knowledge on how to adapt the parameters to fit your respective needs. And so you have to pass the NeuroTracker Advanced or NeuroTracker Academy Advanced certification, which we'll have more information on later. Now, if you were to want to navigate to the end user's dashboard, you would be able to go and navigate to their individual dashboard. Now, this dashboard is what a user would see should they want to sign up directly. Now, I apologize right now. That took a bit of time. Right now, the internet is a bit overburdened, so it normally would happen at a faster pace. But what they would do is they would see this page here. Not only does that give some insight into how their individual performance is progressing, so they can see their performance over time. And again, this is fake data. Normally, the progression curve would be a nice smooth trend upwards. We don't see that here, but under normal circumstances, we would. In addition, this platform allows for the visibility as to where the training program will go. And so for this user, we see that they're assigned a general athletics performance program. They've completed 0% of it, but they can see intuitively that as they progress, they're going to go through the elevated baseline, have dual task standing, dual task balance, and so forth, a progression path that has been previously and pre-identified for them. They would also have the ability to see what's next. So on the next session in their program is Core 4 Targets 8 Seconds. They can go ahead and click to start right then and there. Now, I don't want to go ahead and go through an entire session, so I'm going to exit out right now. But as you see, this training platform is intended to allow coaches and clinicians to be able to manage a broader organization and have a macro level view, while their users have a micro level view where they can look and see their own individual progression path and see exactly where they will be progressing and their improvement over time. So on that note, I would like to thank you. We can take questions at the end of the sequence, but for the time being, I'm going to pass it back off to Christina.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to have Dr. Keith Smithson with sportsvisionpros.com here today.
Just go ahead and speak.
Dr. Smithson is an optometrist at the Northern Virginia Doctors of Optometry. He is also Director of Visual Performance for the Washington Nationals, the team optometrist for the Washington Wizards, Spirits, Mystics, and DC United, and sports vision consultant for the Washington Redskins and Capitals. Dr. Smithson provides sports vision consultations for serious athletes of all ages who are seeking an extra edge in athletic performance through vision enhancement. In his practice, Keith conducts visual and perceptual testing for children experiencing difficulty in school and for adults with computer vision, eye strain, or focusing problems. Keith has also served as a sports vision consultant for Nike and has been using NeuroTracker for years and is a great advocate of the technology. I think we're having a little bit of a problem linking him through the panelists, so we've got him here on the phone. Keith.
Hello there.
Hi, Keith. So we're just going to have you remotely on the phone here. I don't know why we weren't able to connect you on the computer. So there you go. Go ahead. You've got the floor. The floor is yours. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I guess we're showing the challenges of telemedicine. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, so thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a topic obviously near and dear to my heart, something we're talking about quite a bit today in our unfortunate environment that all of us are living in with remote care for the patients, but remote training for me as a clinician with my athletes, my general patients, has always been a topic and always been something that we've been very passionate about, is being able to deliver remote capabilities for all of our patients to do training such as NeuroTracker. It simply becomes a challenge to bring athletes or general patients into the office day to day when they get into the busyness of their day-to-day environment, which generally includes schooling or once they get into their season, traveling and games and times away from the training facility. So for me, the NeuroTracker cloud system has always been an add-on and a part of what we used with great success with our standalone NeuroTracker units, which we have in my office as well as in our training facilities for some of our pro teams. But ultimately, without the training capacity to be able to do things remotely, we simply lose compliance. We simply lose having athletes be able to do training on a more consistent basis. But for me, remote training has always been a great improvement in our overall training regimen. Something that stays well that it expands our ability to deliver care when the athlete can't be there in front of us.
Thank you so much for that, Keith. I know if some of you guys have a little bit of a hard time hearing him, like I said, we will have this recorded and would be more than happy to share that with you. Thank you again so much for your time, Dr. Smithson, and if you can hang around to the end in case there's any questions for you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact us at sales@neurotracker.net with the subject telehealth. For any of our educational or technical support, you can also email support@neurotracker.net. I'd also like to invite you, if anybody does have any questions, to go ahead and put it in the chat. On a personal level, during this past week, we've received emails from our dentist and our children's pediatrician that they're still offering consults via telemedicine. They're still charging the same price. So in this day and age, we're lucky that with technology, it's an incredible way to see various ways to continue to provide effective service to our clients during these periods. So if you have any other questions, I'd like to open the floor. Also, if you've got the standalone system and we're interested in upgrading or how to do that, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, so I see that there was a question in relation to the upgrade path for our existing clients. Will the software be automatically updated? So for this new NeuroTracker X platform is not a forced upgrade right now. The functionality of the standalone and the cloud platforms will still be operational, and so it'll be a voluntary upgrade should you choose to accept. And in that path, what we would do is provide a seamless path for upgrade to ensure that you're able to invite users and get training right off the bat. And so we can reach out to you individually in order to provide details on how that can occur and make sure that the option upgrade is right for your organization, because what we tried to do is aggregate a number of different functions to make this an overall improvement to your practice. However, given each individual environment, it's possible that you may want to use a combination of perhaps a standalone system, the cloud system, or even NeuroTracker X. And so we can discuss with you individually to make sure that it's right for you and you get an overall improvement in service moving forward.
Thank you, Mark. I see a question here. How do we get a copy of the recording? So you can just email at sales@neurotracker.net. Like I said, just put the subject telehealth and just send me a quick email and I'd be happy to share that with you after the call if anybody would like that.
And we'll also be sending a recording to anyone who registered for this presentation. We'll be sending an email including the recording and other supplementary information. So you don't have to worry. We'll be reaching out to you individually.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. And we will also be updating you on any future blogs and documentation that we're putting in place again. So for any other questions, again, just email us at sales@neurotracker.net. And
I see that, yeah, there was a question relating to the advanced certification, so I could provide some an elaboration on that.
oh, thank you, Mark.
In effect, what we are doing is providing an online learning platform that will allow access to both a base certification that will be available to anyone who has access to the NeuroTracker X platform, as well as an advanced certification that will go into depth about how to address and how to adapt the NeuroTracker programs to special populations and understanding the details of how to adjust parameters, including the amount of targets, the duration, and so forth. Now, this is going to be available within the next few weeks or so. And so we'll be able to provide some further information should you choose to upgrade and exactly what that sequence would look like. But it's going to be an online learning platform that includes video and testing to make sure that you've assimilated all the right information.
I see a question here as well, just that it's been a little while since they've had an update on the research, as well as asking, what are the new implications for NeuroTracker in terms of who to train and what it might be helpful for. So I can ask that, or I can answer that, sorry. We've certainly had some new and exciting research come out over the last year, some of which is specific to new applications and areas of interest. The summary guide of our research that includes the links to all of our publications can be found on our website, but you can also reach out to us directly and we can provide that to you so that you can stay up to date. In terms of what populations NeuroTracker will be beneficial for, we are continuing to successfully apply it across the spectrum of human performance, which includes academics and athletics, military, rehabilitation, and wellness. And so as I mentioned earlier, with the release of the new software, what we've done is created programs that are specific to the various applications, and they will be able to be customized using the dual task training and pre-post questionnaires like Mark reviewed there. We've recently had some really interesting research come out that has investigated the role NeuroTracker can play in combating the effects of physical fatigue on cognitive functions, which is a newer application that we are now learning about. This study was done in professional rugby players, and it's been really interesting to see those results. So we're always learning here, the team, about new ways to apply the technology, and through our science side, scientific blogs, and as Mark just mentioned there, with the new education courses coming out on NeuroTracker Academy, we're going to be doing our best to get all of this news out to you as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Francis. I have another question here that came in. I'm wondering how we get credits or sign clients up for long distance. We were going to do this in the past, and I signed up for a bunch of credits but never used them. We have a bunch of 3D glasses, and we're ready to go. How do we get started? Basically, you can continue to use your NeuroTracker Cloud and your unused credits to do virtual training right now. So you just need to send the invitations to your clients via email, and they can activate their licenses. So you can monitor them via your administrator dashboard, sorry. So our technical support team can help you if you have any questions on that. You can just email support@neurotracker.net. You'll also need to ship the glasses to your clients or have them come by your facility to pick up. So again, thank you so much everyone for your time. I apologize, we're running out of time. So if you have any further questions in the panelist Q&As here, I will respond back to them. And anyone else, again, please email us at sales@neurotracker.net for any other questions. Thank you so much for your time and have a great afternoon.